Hello again and welcome to the Customers Who Click podcast. I've got a little offer for my listeners today. If you send over a web page to will@monkeyblocks.com, I'll send back a video review of how I think the page can be improved. This can be a landing page, product page, category page, checkout, whatever. Send over a page, I'll review it and give you suggestions on how it can be improved for conversion. Back to the episode though. Today I've got Masood Akbarzai talking to us about algorithms, data and AI. He runs a paid media consultancy who really focus on AI and using algorithms to improve performance. Let's get him on now. Hi Masood, thanks for joining me on the podcast. If you could tell us a bit about yourself, a bit of your background and what you're doing at the moment.
Hi, Will. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I'm a digital marketing specialist with background in chemical engineering and mathematical modeling. I'm a paid media algorithm specialist. And we are a digital marketing consultancy and agency where we do media buying for businesses, predominantly for e-commerce, and producing the content carefully engineered for the algorithms to trigger a response from the spectators.
Cool, sounds interesting. So what does like a standard day look like for you?
So a standard day will be getting on calls for introductory discovery calls with clients, giving them feedback and giving them some value as well. That's part of the day. And then the other part is, we do a lot of data intelligence, digital intelligence, competitor analysis, risk analysis, pitfalls and counter-competitor intelligence for clients. So I oversee all of that for the projects of our clients. And liaising with our teams. So we've got top 1% talent from around the world. So we're a completely remote agency and a consultancy. And then we have tech partners where we use AI and machine learning tools that helps us with optimizing the paid campaigns for the clients. And that's what the day-to-day looks like. I personally, I'm enthralled and infatuated by data and how data changes by psychographic segmentation and the behavior from those that are consuming it, predominantly on the paid advertising vertical of media buying.
Okay, wow. So very, very data heavy, a lot of maths. That is probably way beyond me. Let's kind of dive into the algorithms a bit. You mentioned kind of using algorithms for media buying and things. Do you want to just kind of expand on that a little bit more and maybe kind of talk about why businesses should be looking at this sort of approach to media buying?
So an algorithm is predominantly designed for actions and reactions. So actions are your CTAs and conformity and compliance with those CTAs, and you've got instructions for your potential prospects to take an action on your advertising. And the reactions are really the like, comment, shares, watch time, saving posts, sharing with other people, etc., etc. So the algorithm takes all that into account to make some internal decisions in order to take your reach wider across to your actual audience that it resonates with. So there aren't really hacks around algorithms as we can see within the industry. When people come up with some kind of a solution or some viral achievement and they think it's a one-size-fits-all solution, and then when someone else tries to copy that and it doesn't work for them, the reason to that is because it is not just some kind of hack or a mathematical formula for making everything work. It's a combination of a lot of things. It's just a combination of what is it you're offering? Is it priced right? Does it resonate with the audience that you think they will buy, etc., etc. So if you look at an example of paid ad, so you'll set up an ad campaign, and let's say you've converged it to interest and demographics, etc., and you've come up with there are about 1 million people in that pool. Now, let's assume there's a circular pool of those 1 million people. And the ad algorithm shows, that you can potentially reach all of this and put the money in, Now, there's a catch to that. It actually never shows it to all of those people. If it did, it will cause data clutter and, advertising clutter and information fatigue. So it will actually create another circular bubble within that pool, that large circular pool. and that is your ad, and you've priced it at whatever cost that is, per day, per month, per week. The algorithm will now move that bubble at different corners of this circle of 1 million people and try to work out, does this resonate with this audience or not? If it is not resonating, that's when you call something, that my ads are not converting. Redo them, create more creatives, etc., etc. And then, so it may not necessarily be a problem with the way you're running your marketing or your ad or your media buying competency. It could be anything. It could be with your offering, and a lot with the price, the quality. I think content plays an important role as well, especially in conveying the message via your copy and the actual imagery or video. In my opinion, if there are any hacks, I think there are 2 hacks around it. If you're a large ad spend media buyer, then the algorithm will break some of its internal protocols, because at the end of the day, a platform is a business just like yourself as well. And in business, there's one denominator for all of us. Everybody's in money-making business. So the platform promotes and helps campaigns that can make them more dollars. So if you're a large spend media buyer and you begin with big numbers, like I said, the algorithms will break some protocols, and it will actually push forward and try to capture more and more, and use its internal machine learning as well to give you a better conversion. And I think another hack around that is, if you've got a great offer and it resonates with people faster, the algorithm will again break some internal protocols and open ports and try to get you more traffic and an audience for conversion, because it understands that this is something that works and we will allow you to make money through it, so you can spend more. So I really don't think there are some kind of hacks around algorithms, or you can actually fully decipher them. So we do a lot of deciphering work. So I have personally spent more than 12,000 hours of deciphering algorithms. From my past background is mathematical modeling, where we used to develop mathematical models for other projects, but that was an intertransferable skill that I brought back to the internet world, and my internet media buying experiences just over 16 years. So I have I've merged intertransferable skills, empirical methods, mathematical models, then along with the synergies of all experts out there that I network with, and we work on R&D. So there is no straight answer for an algorithm. It's in essence, it's a machine that makes decisions internally against a very large data. But like I said, you can make it work. You can use it to your advantage if you have a great offer and a great way of putting that offer forward with your content.
Yeah, there's no hack, because it's. What they've got, especially for Facebook, they've got 15 years behind the algorithm, maybe a bit less on the ad side, I think. So they've got the experience and knowledge, and it works by saying, if this audience completes the goal that you've requested of it, which would normally be a conversion, then we're happy to keep showing your advert and expand on that audience as well and reach more of that 1 million people. But if you're not getting the conversions, we're going to prioritize someone who will. Absolutely.
So they will demote you. So it's think of it as a virtual real estate, a virtual asset. It's a placement, so everybody's bidding against. And if someone else is bidding against it in your niche, the algorithm would rather favor them. Because it's producing more conversion. There's only so much room in those 24 hours. We're already cluttered by so much information. And the algorithms are a lot more smarter than we think of them. They actually know more about us than us, because we do not measure or track our micro behavior, but the algorithm, they do. So they're capturing all of our micro behavior, every day to day, how we scroll things, zoom into pictures, watch time, and proceeding to pages, to cards, etc., etc. So the algorithm really knows who's into what. And if your offer does not resonate with the like or like match, it will demote it very fast.
Yeah, Facebook has all the data, doesn't it? And it knows when you tell it, I want to target this demographic of people who are interested in these sort of products. It then obviously looks at its data and says, well, these are the people who fit that criteria. If your ad doesn't perform, it means either your offer's wrong or you might have your targeting wrong, and you're doing it wrong. So there's no point you spending your money, because we can get it from somewhere else. And then, I guess, like you said, if someone comes along and says, here's a few million a month or a week, the algorithm's just going to say, well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
As long as you get the numbers you're happy with, we're happy for you to spend your money here.
Yeah, if that's the case, you can stick a picture of a bin and promote a product with that, which is irrelevant. If you've got that kind of a money behind it, then it's not only a question of that they will prefer it and help you to achieve the result. It's actually the internal mechanism of that algorithm is then loaded with the capacity of learning faster as well, because it's opening all those spots, collecting a lot of data and information on your behalf, because you're paying for it. So they don't mind producing that kind of a clutter everywhere. And then we know, if you're reaching to millions and millions of people, actually, not what they tell you at the front of your ad manager, that you can potentially reach, like I've just said earlier, that's one of the catches, that a lot of us don't understand it from time to time, is because it will never show you to those many people. It actually it begins with showing to a smaller segments of that population in that village that you've just created. So I guess there are ways around spending a lot of money, or you then help the algorithm, which is where then your media buying competency and expertise comes in. Along with if you then have access to AI systems or optimization that can do a lot of decision making on your behalf and scale. So we can do hundreds of creatives and test different kinds of interests. And then you actually help the algorithm. Then no, I think maybe such and such criteria, and you can appreciate the combinations and permutations of that and go astronomical. But if you've got systems and I think that's what's going to be the future of media buying as well, programmatic buying, is where you use human expertise along artificial intelligence and machine learning systems to optimize and find where does it actually resonate with people. So the best way to do that is, I think, that you test each interest separately. If you've got a lot of interests in one creative and it somehow works for you, you will never know which of those interests actually work for you. And that's where automation systems comes handy, because they can do that segmentation on your behalf at scale as well.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I've seen AI for kind of copywriting do really well, but there's definitely I wouldn't say it replaces the copywriting. It's more of a support tool, but it comes up with so many variations of the copy that it thinks will be relevant, that it just doesn't make sense for someone to sit there and try and write these subject lines or whatever themselves, because they'll always have their own biases and their ways of doing things. So if you can get, I think that's kind of where AI is going to be really, really helpful over the next few years, in just really speeding up people's abilities to produce new content and creative and copy and testing opportunities, but still kind of overseen and guided by the people who really know their stuff.
Yeah, and it certainly becomes very powerful when that machine learning system can actually learn from things that are already working, and those could be thousands and thousands of data points, you can appreciate well, and that is manually not possible. So systems like those can really help and narrow that advertising clutter and information fatigue for your brand, for yourself, and for the spectators, and then platforms like that as well, and they will promote you and push you forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So what other kind of common myths and misconceptions are there around things like algorithms and data?
I think there could be a number of misconceptions, So, one of the biggest misconceptions is, that somebody achieves a great result and they think they've cracked some kind of a code for making everything work especially on social and paid advertising. So that is one of the greatest misconceptions.
But do you think they could have cracked it for themselves, couldn't they? So they might have found a particular technique that really works for their business and their audience.
Yeah, absolutely. So even if you came up with some kind of a code or a way of making things work for your own business, it may not necessarily mean that someone else with even like-for-like business, they can achieve the same results. So it can have a number of reasons to it, So algorithm works backward. It's not a forward command. So you put something forward and the algorithm waits for the behavior and the reactions and actions that we've just talked about earlier of the consumers, and it learns from there. Now, you cannot base it solely on on your back end expertise and competency of how you're running your media buying or your marketing or organic reach on platforms. It has got to do a lot with your branding, with your offer, and more importantly, what others are saying about that product, and that makes it very powerful. And that's where I think influencer marketing plays a vital role. So and I'm talking about genuine influence marketing, where people with genuine influence and then their audience like their review. I'm talking about blogging. And they believe in that, and then the brand grows organically from one side, and then your paid media buying then targets those people, and what those people will then do is they will look for some kind of social proof. So if your message resonates with people and it is relatable and it has some kind of novelty to it, then the algorithm is going to work for anyone. And then comes down to you look at how good is your marketing team or your marketing competency of media buying, and that includes and I think that is broken down to two things. It's content marketing and copywriting. I think copy plays a very, very important role, especially short form copy, and then what else really works is is the retargeting really. And we know from experience that to achieve great conversions you need between 1 to 8 follow-ups. Now, along those follow-ups, you can cause some kind of information fatigue as well, and advertising clutter. So I think if you start with a short form copy and a very, very intriguing content, and then you only retarget those who have shown the most interest by analyzing the watch time, etc., and spend with a long copy. And then over time, that needs to, I think, drop back down to short form, because if you're constantly reaching out to people with a lot of information and they've not taken an action, they will probably disengage, and that will hurt your endeavors, with the algorithms. One of the misconceptions is, that you constantly retarget with a lot of information and content to the people who have shown some kind of interest. I think that may not necessarily be true, because to your cold traffic, I think short form copy and a very, very intriguing content with that will get you some traction. And then at that stage, the algorithm will be happy with you and will help you to carry on. But we know from data and the stats, that we need about between 1 to 8 follow-ups to get retaining and ongoing customers, conversions and sales from those campaigns. And one of the misconceptions on that journey is, that you should retarget them with a lot of information, long copy. And I think that's where things go wrong. If we're constantly retargeting, we see it on a day-to-day basis ourselves. We are consumers, right? If you're getting every day a very long email retargeting copies or FB ads or YouTube ads, it kind of puts you off. So short form copy, great content, followed by very long storytelling copy for retarget, and then that drops back down to short form. So you're not really upsetting people. So it's really about reverse engineering the behavior and where is the breaking point of the spectators, before they disengage and, they get bored of, of you constantly lurking at them everywhere on different platforms.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, using a mix of content and creative to kind of, catch someone's attention and then follow up and say, well, we got your attention because you might have liked or clicked on this ad. So here's a longer form piece that we think will really inform you. Yeah. And then if they don't purchase, but they have read it, retarget them again with something, again, maybe short and snappy.
Yeah, make me short and snappy, because we, from your past campaign, that they have not. Now, we know there could be a number of reasons. People could be in the middle of a journey. They could be on their break, or they've just had a glance and then they've put their phones away, or they've switched the computer off, and they want to come back. But most of them have just simply not shown interest, So it is not wise to constantly spam them with very long forms of copies. So retargeting is really about, short form, then long form, and then it drops back down to short form to keep that momentum going. Because that third phase of short form, drop to short form, will actually help you to retain some of those who have shown no interest to stay on board for a while. And you could probably get some conversion from them as well at a later stage.
Yeah, so kind of, I guess, in a way, like segmenting, kind of like how you might do with email marketing things, segmenting your list a bit to say, these people are showing some interest, so let's kind of keep giving them some content and stuff. But if someone's showing no interest at all, you might as well leave them out of future campaigns, because I guess in a similar way to the Facebook algorithm, a lot of the inboxes and email providers, they have their algorithms as well. And if loads of people aren't opening and clicking in emails, that's when you start entering the junk box.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of their way of saying the same thing. Like, these people aren't interested, so why are you still? So we're not going to prioritize you and put you in the inbox.
Absolutely.
Cool. So if someone wanted to, I don't know, review their current setup or just become a more data orientated company, what are some of the key things they need to consider when they're kicking off a project like this?
I think they should begin with looking at their competitors. So competitor analysis is very crucial. You will have some competitors who are doing better than you, and some who are not doing as good as you, and there are some competitors who are doing as good as you. So I really advise companies to find their direct competitors and then pinpoint the top players in their niche as well. And there's a lot of learning opportunities. So one of the beauties with the internet is everything is out and on display. You can just go take a look at their offer, their websites, and what is it that they're doing that is different than yourself, and make some learning exercise from that. Beside that, I think user-generated content with behavior information is crucial as well. That will help you understand what resonates with your target audience for your brand. This if you're taking a review of your setup of your to become more data-oriented, So user-generated content produces genuine feedback. It is someone who's not advertising or implicitly advertising for you. Is collecting feedback from people, what they think, and that feedback is very important. You can use that feedback to reverse engineer and restructure your offering, and use that data to have a revamp of your data collection setup, or your advertising for conversions, or if you're doing it for lead generation, or data collection simply. So really, it's about exploring more avenues to collect data from, and in turn that will enhance your existing setup. by making some amendments to your setup in retrospect, from learning from what is out there and working. So I think omni-channel marketing is very important as well. So you collect data from one place and then use it in another place to improve that.
Yeah, definitely. I think getting customer feedback, whether it's, I guess, user-generated content in blogs or social media, or actually just, sending out surveys, picking up the phone, finding out how people actually view the business and how they talk about it is really important. Because if they talk about you and your products on social media and they use words that are a completely different tone of voice to your business tone of voice, and you're seeing this consistently, then it's a good opportunity to actually say, well, hang on, have we got it wrong?
And there are some AI and machine learning systems available out there. They're costly, but if you've got the budget, you can use these systems and they will collect that data at some scale, and it will actually do the ranking for it, that in price-wise you're positive or you're negative in design. You're doing great, it can collect all that information for you, or you can just manually spend hours and collect that data, from different places and make good use of that.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your budget, doesn't it? But also, I do think it helps to run through at least some of the data on your own, manually, and really get your hands on it rather than just relying on a tool.
Yeah, it's just phenomenal, that feedback is readily available out there. And if it is not available, if you're a startup or if you're a new brand, and you say, I don't have that kind of feedback available, it's very simple. You just go to someone else who is a little further ahead of yourself, and they're from that industry, and just see what are people saying about them. You can reverse engineer that and produce a better offer, if not as good as their offer.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually. Just kind of go spy on your competitor, really.
Mm-hmm. That's the kind of work I do, so my work is all reverse engineering systems, mathematics, so better analysis, and then just general, data collection, and then learning from that data that what will actually resonate for the client's offer. And then we structure those ads in that direction by live feedback from actual consumers. And then we use artificial intelligence to help us optimize those decisions that we put in place for the creatives.
No, sounds good. So what are some of the biggest or most common mistakes you see when people are dealing with data?
I think the biggest mistake will be making a pre-assumption about a data based on our own emotions of irrelevant retrospective understanding of something, because I look at something and I think, this could probably correlate to something else I know from the past, and that may not be necessarily true. And the other misconception could be, jumping on aggressively, trying to own the data without making relationship building learning curve. So when you acquire a data, you really want to be making that relationship with that data, trying to learn from them, and educate them, and share information. So it's really about putting value out first before making a transaction. You just wait for that transaction to naturally happen at some point, more like inbound. So it's really nice about making pre-assumptions about data. I think it's absolutely detrimental. It can jeopardize your future endeavors of your marketing endeavors, media buying. So it's not, data collection is one thing, data collation is another thing, and then deciphering and learning from the data is really learning it in real time by engaging with that data, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, like you said, either make the pre-assumptions about the data and then, I guess, look for that confirmation, or maybe then disagree with it if it doesn't show that. But then, when people have the data, they get the results in, and they're very quick to jump on, almost like the first insight that they find, and assume that's the big thing they need to work on.
So the first insight may not be true for the wide data. There could be a multitude of insights within that data, and that's where segmentation comes handy. And we can only learn about how to segment them by staying engaged and not making prejudgments early.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you think the trends with data are going to go? So, like over the next 18 months, do you think more people are going to jump on the use of AI and algorithms, or?
I mean, the next 18 months is, I think, a very short span of time to predict something, a major change. But I think over the coming 2 to 5 years, programmatic buying will become a common thing. AI, ML, and automation tools in general to hone decision-making and optimization at scale for big data. And that will be a thing. I think soon a lot of manual media buying will become a thing of past. Because if more and more people are hopping on to automation and programmatic buying, it will be very hard to counter them with manual works. So yeah, it's really, I think automation will be a big thing, for the coming months and years.
Yeah. So at the moment, are there many options for like smaller companies at the moment? Like, can you pay for a tool yourself to get on with things, or do you kind of need to go through an agency or pay a lot of money for a tool at the moment?
So I mean, it's really down to your budget. I mean, there are a lot of young software companies and automation tools available at the moment, and some of them are not very costly, and some are. I think the industry is pretty young as well, so we'll have to give it some time. That who comes with better solutions and results as well. Cost-wise, I think it is costly, so it is really worth looking into. If you have a high spend, if you have a larger ad spend account, it can save you a lot of money and time of media buying. You can use that time in making macro decision making, and not wasting time in micro decision making and producing data sheets for your data collection.
Just like out of interest, what sort of budgets would you be thinking of for someone who should look at going for the programmatic buying? We're talking hundreds of thousands, millions a month.
Yeah, I think if you're in the league of 50,000 to 100K, it is very much worth looking into and buying into those systems, or you can use an agency who have access to those systems and do it on your behalf for a particular work if you're on a smaller spend.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. Kind of. I think that's probably where most people go at the moment, through an agency. Do you have any? Personally, do you have any pet peeves when it comes to marketing?
Yeah, I think my pet peeve would be people who have a single award-winning solution for all sizes. That in turn becomes a culture in itself in the industry, forming a fallacy that's practiced widely. So usually, we're spanned with all these advertising everywhere, award-winning specialists and solutions and gimmicks and techniques that will work for everyone. And then people fall for that, and then a lot of people practice it. And then it actually works for some people, and it doesn't work for a lot of people. And that portion of people who had no luck with it, now they will deem that there something is wrong elsewhere, because how can an award-winning solution be futile for them and won't work? So yeah, that's the kind of pet peeves I have, So I think in marketing, there is no such thing as, one solution fits all sizes and it will work for everyone. It is about that relationship building. If you're an agency, it's about that relationship building with the business, understanding their background, their ROI, their costs, their audience, their challenges. So we work in a manner, so if we are taking a client on the agency, we actually take them through a questionnaire where we qualify them for if we can help them and their challenges are those that we can solve. But that is not what is widely practiced, So it's services are sold based on past results for anyone, and then you can claim the front for, I can solve anyone's problem because I've solved someone else's problem, and that may not necessarily be true. And when you do in marketing, there is no set rules when things don't work. Who can you blame? It's a synergy and combination of a lot of things. And I think if the entire team, whether that is internal or external contractors involved, if they're all on the same page and they understand the ins and outs of the industry, the product, and the customers, you can come up with solutions among all of you using everybody's expertise, and then that synergy can give you a phenomenal growth.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, there's too much, I guess, almost like best practice, and people assume that best practice is the only way to do things and kind of really, really focus on that when actually it should be more of a guidance, shouldn't it?
Absolutely, it can only be used as a guidance, and I really look up to David Ogilvy, who's the father of advertising, and I think that was his pet peeves as well, and he hated rules. So there are no rules in marketing, and there's no such thing as negative publicity now. Everything that you put out is a learning curve. If it doesn't earn you something, it'll let you learn something. So, well, I'm not saying you should go to extreme, and try everything, but there are no set rules to follow. You can only follow so much that is working, and then you'll have to improvise and find your own ways to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. What do you think's the most underrated aspect of marketing at the moment?
I think content marketing is very underrated, and everything is derived from content marketing on social and in internet marketing as a whole. It is content that drives attention, decision, and conversions. So I think content marketing is very underrated. I would say copywriting as well.
I'm not sure I'd agree that content marketing is underrated. I think it's just not used properly. Like, I think a lot of companies try to do it, but just don't really know like how to. And they probably do go along with this best practice stuff, read a few articles and try to just follow a structure there. But yeah, like copywriting, completely agree. I think you don't see many people with like kind of marketing copywriting qualifications and like, really good marketing copywriters,
yeah.
Which I think is, it is important because you can be a good writer, studied English or whatever. But there's more to it than that. You have to know how to sell as well. And that's a whole other skill.
Yes, I mean, media buying is one thing, and then understanding business is another thing. Expecting too many outcomes from a single department or person is a mistake in itself as well. Like I said, it's about combination of experience and expertise from everyone, of all those who are involved in a project and a business, to then come up with those solutions and then put it forward. And then that's how you should engineer your content to promote, to get the best out of your media buying efforts. Your potential customer and spectators and consumers of your content, they don't really care what's happening inside the algorithm, do they? And they really don't care, how you've optimized, etc., etc. It's all about, reverse engineering, So what goes out will collect information in turn. It will help you and the algorithm to make informed decisions.
Cool. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I think influencer marketing can play a vital role, and inter-platform integration for robustness of algorithms. So influencer marketing, it really works if the influence is a true influence and you have true brand ambassadors who represent you. And one of the ways to form that tribe around yourself and your brand is, by offering your product to potential bloggers and influencers free of cost, and not asking for something in return, just to test, if this is something they like. And you can go through, it's very easy to find people, who would like your products, and just look into people, what they're talking about and showing to their audiences. And they don't need to have millions and millions of followers. And if anything, the organic reach has died out mostly on places like Instagram. Perhaps only 3% of people will see it. So it's far better to have people who have just a few thousands of followers and very engaging audience who believe in their review, and then have them as brand ambassadors, and then they will start creating. It's a chain reaction. They'll start creating more people around themselves who believe in your brand, and that is a great source of then data collection and feedback. Then in turn can help you with your media buying and your paid advertising. And in terms of inter-platforms, it's very powerful, when you have an omni-channel, paid advertising or programmatic buys for high spend. So, for instance, you can use Google Ads, which are intent-driven, to collect data. And we know that data is solid proof of your potential customers because it's driven by search and intent. We can use that data in the algorithms of Facebook then to look for their lookalikes and even retargeting those people as well. You can use them back into pre-roll ads on YouTube that are driven by searches on Google. So there's a lot of opportunity out there making a synergistic use of algorithms from different platforms to form better strategies or on one or two platforms where the most and vast majority of your revenues are coming from.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think, if you can kind of link up that data and use it to advertise across platforms and capture your audience elsewhere using your previous learnings, I think that's put people in a really much stronger position than if you're just kind of treating each platform completely separately.
Yeah, absolutely. No. So treating each platform separately and not making a good use of information from one place onto the another is one of the biggest mistakes an advertiser or a brand can make.
Yeah. This has been really great stuff, Masood. If people want to get in touch with you and find out more about kind of data or algorithms or what you guys do, how should they get in touch?
So I can be reached out on LinkedIn. It's Masood Akbarzai or masood@akbarzai.com on my email. And we give a discovery introductory call to every inbound inquiry, and that involves some free advice and looking into their challenges as well. And then we send them our latest deck of information and some case studies.
Okay, perfect. I mean, we'll make sure the links go up on the Customers Who Click website so people can easily get in touch. All right, cheers, Masood.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Will. Cheers.
So, unless you've got silly amounts of money throughout Facebook, the best way, quite obviously, is to produce ads that resonate with your target audience, ads that identify pain points and explain how those pain points can be fixed with your product or service. The better engagement you get, the more Facebook will promote you, the better your reach will be, and the better the results you'll see. A really powerful way of almost kind of hacking these algorithms is to use or at least pay attention to user-generated content. So really understanding how your customers talk about you, how they view your products, and how you can use that information and feedback to reverse engineer your advertising strategy and brand positioning. It's really important to spend time on your brand, create your values and your value proposition. But if what you come up with isn't based on research and feedback from your customers on what they really want, you're just going to make life difficult for you because your ads won't won't speak to your audience, won't resonate with them. That's all for today. If you'd like to learn more about algorithms and data, do get in touch with Masood on LinkedIn. He's always happy to chat. And don't forget to send your webpage. I'll get it reviewed and back to you within a few days. You can send that to will@monkeyblocks.com. In the next episode, I've got Callum McKeefery explaining the importance of reviews and social proof. But until then, keep those customers clicking.